We're here today with the wheel Jarraff. I'm going to talk a few safety stuff with you. First, as you can see, I got my safety vest on, my hard hat, my glasses. Second, would like to point out we have safety decals all over the machine to instruct the operator to be cautious of certain things. For example, danger hot exhaust. Fire port, where if you had to put the fire extinguisher for a fire, you can stick it in there without opening the doors. Also, this unit is equipped with 4 LED safety lights in each quadrant. You can see the one on the front of the boom rest right here. And then we have one on the side of the cab, on the left side of the upright, and on the back of the cab. So people coming up to the unit can see the unit flashing. On the wheel Jarraff here, we're equipped with 2 20-pound fire extinguishers. Here on the right side, you can see one of the boxes lockable with a padlock on the bottom or the top. Inside is a 20-pound fire extinguisher. The same box and everything is on the left side of the machine for easy access for the operator to be able to get if we did get in a situation of a fire. As we move down the chassis of the wheel Jarraff, and also be the quad track chassis, got a few more components in the middle of the frame here. Right off the bat, you can see this bar. It's called the tow bar. You got 2 pins with clips. When it's loaded on a low boy, you pull the front pin out, this swings out, and you drop the pin in, and it locks out the steering, or what we call the articulation, so when it's on the low boy, the cylinders doesn't let it turn. It's more for DOT laws. When it's in operation mode, of course, you have flipped it back, put the pins in, and then this way the unit will steer. As we were talking about the articulation, there's a couple of key components. We got steering cylinders, we got drive shafts, we got the 2 main pins that hold the 2 frame halves together. So right off on the steering cylinder, we got grease fittings on the front, and then on the rear, we got grease fittings. Removing this cover, you can go down and grease the back of the steering cylinders. Here in the center of the frame, grease fittings to grease your 2 main pins that hold the frame together. Also, I recommend during the week, keep this area here cleaned out on both sides for the steering. As debris builds up, that will limit your steering cylinders to be able to steer the unit, and it will cause extra stress on your steering cylinders. The 2 big black hoses here is what I call the umbilical cord. That's my own saying. But basically, this has got all your hydraulic hoses, your electrical lines, and everything going to the cab coming from the power plant. These 2 hoses are for your DEF tank, and this is also for the DEF tank. When we're talking about DEF, that is the diesel exhaust fluid goes inside. Behind this door, there's a blue cap, and you want to use blue DEF. When you're putting the blue DEF in the machine, please make sure it's very clean. You're not using a recycled bucket with dirt on it or anything like that, because we do not want any kind of particle of dirt getting in the tank. You're talking about causing problems, stopping up the system, and then the engine's going to go into limp mode. Of course, as you can see, this is the step to get up into onto the machine. Got your grab handle, grab bar here, your rubber step, and your 2 metal steps to be able to step up onto the unit. Under this cover is the transfer case. So basically, everything on this machine is hydraulic, and so it is propelled by 2 differentials and propelled by the transfer case that has 2 drive shafts going to the differentials. And then there's a big hydraulic motor that turns the transfer case. To get access to the transfer case, 4 bolts you can remove, and this panel will come off. Also, if you reach in this hole by the steering cylinder, you will find this dipstick to check the oil in the transfer case. This particular model takes a Cenex 46 MV hydrostatic oil for the transfer case, which you should be able to pick up at any of your local auto parts stores or your Jarraff parts center. Here in the back of the Jarraff is the actual turntable and the upright of the Jarraff. A couple of key components right off the bat. We have our high pressure hydraulic filter, our hydraulic hose bundle that's going to our rotation coupler, commutator, has a few names, but this allows the machine to be able to rotate 360 degrees without tangling up the hydraulic hoses. But doing that, we want to make sure that if you go all the way to the left, come back to the right, because of this electrical wiring harness going through the center of the coupler. After a few times around and around, you could tangle up that wiring harness and unplug it. So we want to make sure that if you go all the way one way, just come back around the other way. As you notice, this thing is bolted to a big ring gear, And we want to keep all these teeth as clean and dry as possible. We don't want to put any grease, any lube of any sort on these teeth, due to the fact that it would get the grit, the dirt, and other stuff from the ground and stuck into the grease and build up and cause a problem. Also, you got all your turntable bolts that holds the turntable to the bull gear. Every once in a while you want to make sure those are tight. As you can see right here, you got your two main pins that hold the upright to the turntable. Your grease fittings located right here. We want to grease them daily. As you can see right here, we have our high pressure hydraulic filter. This unit has 3 hydraulic filters, and I consider this the third one. On the top is a glass indicator. As you can see, it's got a green stripe, but with the engine running at 2,000 RPMs, this green stripe should stay green. If for some reason it turns red, that is a tattletale to tell you that this filter is stopped up and it needs to be replaced. Usually the operator will notice from operating the unit that the joysticks are not working up to par, and that's another tattletale that this filter is probably clogged up. Here on the back of the machine, you'll notice we have our Tulsa Roughneck 20,000 pound winch, spooled with 5/8 cable, 150 foot long, with a chain and hook molded into the cable. When operating this winch and you're finished winching out, never leave slack and throw the cable to the back, where there's a chance that this chain could get caught in the gear when you're rotating the upright. Also, while we're talking about the winch, we got a roller fair lead that guides the cable. As you can see, we got grease fittings on top, on the sides, and we need to keep those lubricated. And across the whole winch, grease fittings. After you get stuck and you get unstuck, always wind your winch back up nice and neat, because the next time you get stuck, you're able to put this winch in neutral, free wheel the cable off, and get out. If you just leave it tightened up from the last time, you're stuck, then the cable's going to be stuck and you won't be able to use it. As we move up toward the upright, you can see our serial number plate. Little education about our serial number. J is for giraffe, WH is for wheel, 75 is for 75 foot in the air operation. Then we got our month and year. We got our letter A, indicates Cummins engines, and this is the 1,797 Jarraff ever built in this particular unit. Here's our backup camera. Every once in a while you might want to come out with a rag and dust the lens cover off, but this is what makes your backup camera so you can see it. Then we have our air conditioning unit, known as what I call the window unit. It's all hydraulically operated. There's a hydraulic motor that turns the compressor for the air condition. Then there's a hydraulic motor that flows hydraulic fluid through the heater core. As you can tell, you want to keep this cooler and all that cleaned out of debris, and it's a very sensitive area, so when you're backing up, pay attention to this backup camera and don't back into trees. It's very easy not to be paying attention, hit a big tree, and then next thing you know, your air conditioner or your heater's not going to work. We got our hose reel. Our hoses come off, go through the roller fair lead, through the roller, and straight into the inner boom bulkhead. What is normal on these Jarraffs, with this particular model, this reel rolls up both hoses, so over time you might have a hose that has a little slack in it. That is normal. Don't worry about one hose being tighter than the other. It's because it's one reel with a divider that rolls up both hoses. Lower boom cylinder, grease point right here. You got 3 of them, one on each side of the cylinder and then one on the cylinder. Right here is your main boom pin that holds the cradle to the upright. Your grease fitting is one on each side and then one on the inside. 4 total grease fittings. You want to try to grease that every 8 hours. All our Jarraffs are equipped with a front dozer blade. On the quad track in this wheel Jarraff, you'll notice you got a hydraulic cylinder and your pivot point. The pivot point is not greased due to a neoprene plastic bushing, but the hydraulic cylinder does have grease fittings, indicated here every 8 hours to grease. The dozer blade is used to put, as the unit drops limbs onto the right-of-way, you can use that dozer blade to push those limbs out of the way. Also, if you caused any ruts or any kind of damage to the ground, you kind of can smooth it out with a dozer blade. All right, here at the front of the Jarraff, we got some key areas we want to talk about. Right off the bat, we got our binding areas. When you have it on the low boy or pulling, you can run chains through these eyelets here. Of course, we got our front radiator cover, heavy duty. Want to make sure, you know, this is staying clean of any kind of debris or anything. With the pusher fan, you shouldn't be having really much issues, but again, we want to just double check that. Underneath is a little belly pan, 3 bolts, a little pan opens up and it will drop big debris that's actually under the radiator. Yes, we do have these hinges here, but to make this hood or this front end tilt forward, you will have to remove a lot of bolts for this unit to tilt forward. As you can see, we have the dozer blade in the down position. We recommend every night when you park the unit to always leave this in the down position, because the main thing is when you have it all the way up, it will block this door from opening. Well, we got a handle, some skid tape to step on so you can get access to the top of the radiator field. There's a plate on top of the hood with 2 bolts, and you're able to step up and get to that. And we talked about on the other side, your your cylinder with grease fittings on each end. This one does not take grease. Right here on the dozer blade, if you have the big wide 43 tires, we have these holes, we can bolt extensions to get the width of the blade as wide as the machine. And so we have blade extensions to go on.